Hey, welcome back to Event Answer. Today I want to show you how to make this stunning event backdrop from gift wrap. I'll show you how to create 3 unique textures on this wall, plus a couple easy ways to hang it in your event space. The foundation of this backdrop is a 4-foot wide roll of black craft paper. This will give me a flexible and lightweight background to build my design on top of. So first of all, I'm going to unroll a little bit of this and create a pull pocket at the top of my backdrop so I can hang it on a backdrop stand. To make the pull pocket, or sometimes called a header, I'm going to fold over about 4 inches of the craft paper and then crease it all along that long edge. The most important thing is that this fold is square to the side of our roll of craft paper. If this is a little crooked, it means when we go to hang our backdrop, it will also be crooked. Next, I'm going to take 3 or 4 pieces of clear packaging tape to tack this fold in place, and then I'm going to come back with longer pieces of clear packaging tape and cover the entire seam in tape. That way, the weight of our backdrop is evenly distributed across the entire pull pocket and not on those individual pieces of tape. If you don't have a backdrop stand, you can skip making the pocket and instead hang this directly on a wall using several pieces of tape. The backdrop is lightweight enough that some tape along the top and the sides will be more than enough to secure this in place for your party or event. Now that we've decided how we're going to hang the backdrop, we need to decide how tall we want our backdrop to be. I want mine to be 8 feet tall, so I'm going to measure from the very top of my pocket all the way down to 8 feet and cut that free. 4x8 is a great size for my party setup, but you could make this as tall or as short as you need for your own event. The star of this entire build are these metallic silver Mylar gift wrapping sheets. Now you can buy this in rolls in your gift wrap section, but you're going to save yourself a lot of time and energy if you can buy these in pre-cut sheets. I purchased a pack of 100 that are 15 by 20 inches in size, and that was more than enough to cover this entire wall, plus demonstrating the 3 different textures that I'll show you in a little bit. The final supply we need to join everything together is a can of spray adhesive. Now when you're doing this project, make sure you're in a well-ventilated area because the fumes of spray adhesives are not super great. To assemble this backdrop, lay everything out on a flat surface. The floor is a great place to do this, or on top of a really large table. Now I want to make sure my pull pocket is facing down, I've got all of my foil sheets nearby, a spot that I can crimp those foil sheets where it's not going to be sticky, as well as my spray adhesive within arm's reach. Starting in the top corner of my backdrop, I'm going to spray down adhesive in 12 by 12 inch squares, enough space for each individual sheet that I'm going to be placing down. So I'll spray, crinkle up a sheet, place it, spray more for the next sheet. I don't want to do this in large sections so it doesn't dry while I'm trying to do my crinkling. For my backdrop, I'm going to create really tall peaks so I get maximum volume in my backdrop. So spread your fingers out nice and wide, press just the fingertips down onto the foil, and then slowly draw your fingers in and your 2 hands closer together. This will create really tall, airy folds in our Mylar. And because we're just using our fingertips, there's room for that Mylar to fold up, whereas if we had our palms down, it would crinkle it flat. So once you've got them crinkled in, there should be enough moisture on your fingers to be able to lift up that foil and have it stick to your fingers. Hover the crinkled up foil above where you've placed the adhesive and then gently set it down into the glue using only your fingertips in a few spots, leaving an airy texture. Now whenever you're adding sheets along the sides or corners, make sure your foil is overlapping the black craft paper so you don't see any black peeking through. Whenever I used spray adhesive along the edges, I actually put a scrap piece of craft paper underneath my backing so that the overspray of my glue did not get onto my table. For every sheet here on out, when I spray my glue down, I want to put a little bit of glue onto the sheet that's next to the one I'm about to place, so that when I put that new one down, it'll stick on top of the edge of the sheet next to it. This will help prevent black spots from showing through as all my silver sheets are overlapping each other. Just make sure you don't spray too far onto your foil sheets, as we want to make sure anywhere where there's glue, we cover that with the new sheet. Once you press the foil down into the adhesive, you can adjust the edges if you're not satisfied with its shape. Gently lift the foil away from the paper and then press it into a new location. The opposite is also true when you place a sheet. There may not be enough glue on the paper to secure everything down. If that happens, lift the edge of your foil up, spray a few tiny spots of glue, and press 1 or 2 places of your foil down into the new adhesive. You'll soon develop your own rhythm as you continue to place sheets across the full area of this backdrop. Consistency is king with this design. You don't want the top of the backdrop to look different than the bottom, so try to stay present in the making process, repeating the same techniques from top to bottom, and that's what will give you a stunning look. This first texture was made up of really tall peaks, but the second one I want to show you is made up of smaller, tighter crinkles, giving you a finer look. So bring your fingers in just like we did previously, but this time, instead of just using our fingertips, place your entire palm flat onto the Mylar, and that'll give us shallower crinkles. Similarly, press the foil into the paper using your entire palm so that more of the foil is stuck down into the adhesive, giving us a finer texture. If you're wanting to layer lots of elements on top of this backdrop, the subtle texture might be a better fit. The final texture is a rosette pattern, so I'm going to put my fingers together right in the center and start twisting the foil with my other hand pressing downwards on the outer part to keep the edges of the foil nice and flat, and continuing to rotate it until I have a nice spiral of these tall crinkles. Try and keep a hold of the edges so that they don't unravel from our rosette, and here you can see that lovely spiral. Now I'm going to press the center of the rosette down into the adhesive and slightly flare out the edges because we want to make sure all those foil edges are overlapping and we don't get pockets of black paper peeking through. This is a bit more difficult because the rosette is a lot tighter than our other patterns, so it's not going to cover a lot of surface area for each individual sheet. It's also important that we always rotate the rosettes in the same direction so we get a nice consistent look across the entire backdrop. Whatever texture you decide to go with, completely cover your black paper in it, and then we can finally hang this up for our party or event. I'll be supporting mine with a backdrop stand, and I've placed the two side poles about 4 feet apart from each other and unhooked the horizontal pole so I can slip it into my backdrop. Now I've laid the backdrop on the floor right in front of my stands so I can just simply pick it up and hang it in just a moment. But first we need to take that horizontal pole and slip it right through the pole pocket we made earlier, making sure that we have about an inch or two of pole peeking out of either end of that pocket. Then I'm going to pick up the backdrop by the pole and lift it up into place and hook both ends of that pole into the backdrop stand. Next, I'm going to scooch the two side poles in as tight as possible so you can barely see them on either side of the backdrop. Then I'm going to raise up the top bar until it's its full height and the backdrop is standing nice and straight. Whether this is the focal point of your event design or merely a base layer to build even more elements on top of, it's a quick and inexpensive showstopper. If you'd like to see how I made this complete event setup, check out my next video where I make this all chrome silver balloon garland to go on top of today's build. So until then, remember, stay creative everybody!